Namaste, Jai Bharat. The short-sighted politicians do destroy the society to which they belong. This we had been seeing consistently all over the world, not just here. Here the question is the opinion of Tamil Nadu. The Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, who's got a wonderful name, says that uh, Bharat is imposing Hindi upon Tamil Nadu. Well, then Bharat is different and they are different from Bharat. There's a question that one could ask oneself. Are they not a part of this complex nation Bharat? Not just geopolitically, just by way of Sanskriti. They're integral part of the Bharatiya Sanskriti. They can't escape that. But in spite of that, when they speak of a language which they give a primacy to, of course, we know that Tamil is the most oldest living language in the world. No one is going to dispute that. But then the political kinds of thing with the Dravidian kind of movement, the Dravidian concept itself is very spurious, as a matter of fact. Because Dravidian is not a racial concept. They're treating Dravidian as a racial concept, to say that they're a race, but they're not a race. Dravid is a racial, it's not a racial concept, it's a geographical identity. We call that area as a Dravid area, which has nothing to do with race. Not normal, the kinds of identity what people try to speak are either linguistic or this geographical. But there's no such racial identity question in Bharat. We all belong to just one race, or DNA is one and the same thing, and which people should have realized long back, especially those who are heading things, those who are at the rule, should not make such irresponsible statements. But here what happens is that Tamil Nadu, they have this Tamil sentiments. It's as though someone has projected that people, Bharat, in general, people are against Tamil. No one is against Tamil. Everyone understands the antiquity of Tamil, the most ancient language, which is most ancient living language. That's not undisputed. And who doesn't give respect to Tamil? Everyone gives respect to Tamil. And why do you spread the thoughts that Tamil is disrespected? No, it's disrespecting Tamil. So they wanted to juxtapose Tamil with the Hindi, which of course is not possible, not because of its antiquity, because of the kind of extent to which the people speak language. In Bharat, you can't live without knowing Hindi. You just can't. If you want to live in Bharat as a Bharat, you must know this language. So the government had very early had suggested three language formula. One is a mother tongue, another one is English, which is functional language and which makes it convenient for people of Bharat to go out and even become CEOs of most of the great organizations, be it Google, this thing, that thing. The people of Bharat, they go become. That's because of linguistic ability. And the people, we have an option of Indian English when you look to computer languages. So English is as good as become a Bharatiya language because we use that. But then none of us use it as mother tongue. So three language formula is: one is a mother tongue, which your language you speak at your home, and second is English, which is an international language. It's a language of convenience to us. Wherever we go, we don't have to bother, we don't have to struggle to speak to someone who doesn't know any of our Indian languages. And third is Hindi. And then knowing Hindi makes you literally free in this nation to go from this corner to that corner. If you don't know Hindi, then you're going to be in great difficulties. I've seen many people coming from those who don't know Hindi, they have difficulties. Long before I've seen this, so this kind of resisting three language. And what's wrong actually if children learn one more language and they try to compare it with the states like UP, because the mother tongue is Hindi. They need not learn Hindi as a special language, but then those who are interested would learn some other language. They must be having options to learn another language. They normally go for Sanskrit. And if given a chance, we would also go for Sanskrit as a third language. But then someone has already three languages, so then of course this might not work out. So that's not a serious. It's simply made political. So they're trying to create an identity as different from Bharat, juxtaposing the Dravidian with Bharat. But that's wrong. That's for political petty gains, and that destroys the society. You see, those who studied in Tamil Nadu won't know Hindi. They were never given an opportunity to study Hindi, and then they go out and they struggle. I've seen several people struggling. Those who come from some other parts of Bharat, then they come out and then they are unable to understand anything and can't even speak. and then they have to depend on somebody else who understand English and get things done. So all people out there in the street don't speak English, and you have to know Hindi to go. And when the children are given that opportunity to learn Hindi as a third language, why do the politicians insist their children don't go out there in the street looking for a job? Their children go abroad and get settled. This kind of atrocities they are doing possible should not happen. And then Hindi hatred, they're trying to create a separate space spuriously for themselves, thinking that that would fetch them votes and that would destroy the society in long run. That should not be the case. People should have been little more thoughts towards tomorrow while when you make such statements and create such situations where people are forced. And hatred is filled in the minds of people against Hindi. They call Hindi is getting imposed. No, no one is imposing Hindi. No one is imposing Hindi. People learn Hindi spontaneously. Spontaneously, because that's a functional language within Bharat. You understand Hindi, you go anywhere. Maybe the other person might not understand good Hindi, but he still can survive. The other person maybe you go to a place where people, those who don't speak the mother tongue as Hindi, for example, East India, for example, Assam, for example, Bengal, these places, the mother tongue is not Hindi, but then they speak Hindi to some extent. However imperfect it may be, communication is done. They all understand Hindi. Communication is done. There's a question of Nagaland. Nagaland has got many tribes, and each tribe has their own dialect. And unfortunately, one do not necessarily understand the other. So, long back, the Nagas, they started using Assamese because that was an adjacent language to them. Assamese to communicate one another. And in time, and that's not Assamese proper because it's an Assamese without literature. They spoken Assamese. And in time, the Assamese becomes slightly different from the Assamese, that is the Assamese language, which has literature and kinds of things in Assam. And then that language in which, that kind of Assamese in which Nagas used to communicate one another, it got the name Nagamese. And it's interesting. You speak Assamese, they speak Nagamese with slight variation, very slight variations. And they become happy to speak a little Nagamese to them. It's as good as their language. Their own dialect is there, which other tribes also won't understand. But then if you speak to them in Nagamese, see, that's Assamese only. They become comfortable, they're more happy, and they start smiling and talking. So if that's the case with Assamese language, gets into Nagaland as Nagamese, they have no problem. And look at this Tamil government, which says that Hindi is getting imposed. Nobody is imposing Hindi only. Actually, you should make the opportunity available to your students to learn one more language. One more language, which is the national language of Bharat, whether you like it or not. Most people, majority of people in Bharat speak Hindi. And I personally would tell you, it's very difficult to live without knowing Hindi. I used to wonder, last time, not last time, my friends from, I won't say from where, they were standing and there was discussions going on, talking going on, professors there. And then I was just asking, wondering myself, how do you survive without understanding Hindi? It's not that no one speaks English. Everyone speaks English, but then it's normal that when you talk personally, the Hindi language comes. It's very normal. I am sitting and talking, and then someone is sitting. The Hindi is necessary. Spontaneously we speak Hindi because that becomes a light to us. We are not under strain in speaking Hindi. It comes spontaneously, naturally. There's another good thing which is very different from the topic I'm telling you. You have the sense of we see in Hindi apnapan. That thing you don't get in English. Any Bharatiya language, we have the sense of apnapan, that you're speaking to your own self. We have a lot of weapons in such language which makes you feel that you're one with the other. In any Bharatiya language, that you don't find in English. So, when you going for light talks, you speak only in Hindi. All of us, in spite of knowing English very well, many people. Actually, this is a kind of suicidal step from the Tamil Nadu government. They should not go for this kind of things. Three language formula is only facilitating them, giving them an opportunity to understand Hindi. And with three language formula after class 10, it doesn't make you speak Hindi. That's there. One should understand that. It lets you learn Hindi. And then we will only speak when you happen to go out of Tamil Nadu to some other place. Where, of course, when you start speaking, you have to use the language to speak. You have to speak the language to speak. Reading, just reading and then writing exams won't give you the ability to speak. Look at Max Muller. Max Muller, people understand he's a great Sanskrit scholar, but he is not a great Sanskrit scholar in the sense that he can't speak Sanskrit. He could read and translate and write, and that is read, write, and translate. That's exactly what Max Muller did. He could not speak because he did not take any initiative to speak Sanskrit. He did not come to Bharat. For him, it was translation was his method of surviving. That's it. The East India Company, Macaulay asked the East India Company to give him £10,000 for translation, and he was surviving with this £10,000, and he spent his life living in England. So Maxwell, if you learn language in schools, three language family, you are not become a linguistic pandit, language pandit. You will have an opportunity to learn, of course. Once you know how to read and write up to class 10 level, then when if you go out in a Hindi background, you'll be able to speak faster. Otherwise, the whole thing will be Greek to you. So this is suicidal if you speak against Hindi. Living in Bharat, you are an integrated part of Bharat even without all those things because you are culturally a part of Bharat. Tamil Nadu is well within Bharat's Sanskriti or tradition. They are not separate. They can't be separate. So with the same sanskara, why can't you be lenient to understand? Why can't you be supporting learning Hindi? You will learn Sanskrit. No one is stopping you. Everyone likes to learn Sanskrit because it's our Deva Bhasha. But then Hindi must be functional language. You should learn. Otherwise, you are just destroying your future generation. Their opportunities to go. Enter India is yours. That you must not. Enter Bharat is yours. But then you should know at least one language where you understand in Bharat. You want to get confined only to one place, that is Switzerland. And we'll meet again with some other thought. Till then, Namaste. Jai Bharat, Jai Shri Ram.